What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. My name is Caleb, and this is Sports Casuals. ChatGPT versus me. College Football Edition, Week 7. It's a lot in the title, but let's go. Let's continue. A little brief recap of last week. ChatGPT picked four picks. Missouri Moneyline versus Texas A&M. That was a complete ass whooping. I think Texas A&M freaking outdid everybody's thoughts, so Texas A&M looked great. Tennessee versus Arkansas, minus 13.5. Everybody struggled last week, besides Oregon. Everybody struggled last week, so that did not hit also, but Tennessee still won. Michigan versus Washington, under 45.5. I think the final score was 44, so got lucky. And then, that was actually a really great game. Washington came out on top. Iowa, under 13.5 versus Ohio State. Wow. Iowa, y'all suck. Y'all couldn't score more than 14 points. Or y'all couldn't even score 14 points. It is Ohio State who are the number 2 ranked team in the country. Not for long. But with that being said, that's my picks previous week. I picked NC State versus Wake Forest. Wake Forest won against NC State. I mean, like I said, a lot of the teams that were ranked or who were favored to win got upsetted. Navy versus Air Force, over 36.5. Boy, that was a very, 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 very sweaty game to bet the over on. I didn't think it was going to hit, but thank God it did last second. Next, I picked Ole Miss versus South Carolina. I had South Carolina plus 9.5. South Carolina, y'all are frauds. Ole Miss they looked to bounce back, so they did. Michigan Moneyline versus Washington. Again, Michigan versus Washington was a great game. I picked Michigan Moneyline. But Washington did play at home. I should have looked at some stats, some more. Like I said, I think they had won 3 straight at home. So, it's Washington. Anywho, with that being said, ChatGPT is now 15-7, and I am back in the losers record, 10-12, back in the negatives. They have 3 picks this week. If y'all watch the NFL, they also pick 3 picks. I think they do like every other week. It's 3 or 4, 3 or 4. Little trends right there, but oh well, they got 3, so I'm gonna pick 3. With their first pick, they have Notre Dame versus Stanford. They have Notre Dame minus 24. Notre Dame is expected to cover the large spread against Stanford in 6% of simulations. The Fighting Irish have been dominant, and Stanford is struggling this season. It's Stanford. So, I mean, and Notre Dame is independent, one of the best independent schools of all time, so. And they looked at simulation. That's pretty cool. Also, they have Pitt for minus 3.5 versus California. Pitt is favored to cover at home against California. The Panthers have been strong, winning and covering spreads consistently this season. Meanwhile, California is coming up in an emotional game and might be vulnerable. Yeah, California is ass. Anywho, Vanderbilt plus 13.5 versus Kentucky. Vanderbilt is projected to cover the spread against Kentucky, largely due to the solid rushing defense and Kentucky's offensive struggles. Not really much on that one. I have to say, Vanderbilt did come off the huge win last week, so their emotions are riding high. I do think they get like an adrenaline high, but in struggle. I think Kentucky, even though they do say they're gonna win, it doesn't say that. It says Vanderbilt's just going to cover the spread plus 13.5. I do think Kentucky's going to possibly wax them, because I still think they are hungover from that win last week. And those are their picks. They have Notre Dame minus 24.5, Pittsburgh minus 3.5, and Vanderbilt plus 13.5. Now with my picks. And boy, do we have some big games this week. Everybody is looking forward to this week in college football. And so was I. This is probably the biggest test that my team, Oregon Ducks, have on their schedule. And it is Oregon versus Ohio State, 2 versus 3. And of course, I'm going to go with Oregon plus 3. They are the underdogs. They are playing in Otzi Stadium, so in Oregon. And they still are the underdogs. So 2 versus 3, Ducks versus Buckeyes. Someone's O's got to go. Will Howard versus Dylan Gabriel. I think the Oregons have had the better and stronger schedule, as in like the tougher teams with Oregon State, and then they had some other players. Some other teams I can't even think of right now. Going brainwashed. But Dylan Gabriel has struggled at the beginning. He thrown a few interceptions, and Oregon did struggle their first 2 games. But Boise State, that's what it was. They did struggle with Boise State, even though Boise State only has 1 loss, and they have probably the Heisman winning running back. They did struggle with Idaho in their first game, so that was pretty bad. They almost lost that game, but they came out on top. And now they're looking better than ever, beating Michigan State last week. I think they only allowed them 14 points. Ohio State did play Michigan State also, and they allowed 7 points. But, like I said, I think Oregon is stronger. They are all around. The wide receivers are looking unstoppable, Tez Johnson and co. So, yeah, and then the linebackers too. The Houston Nationals drafted one of their linebackers. So, that's going to be cool to see next year. Next pick is Washington +3 versus Iowa. Washington coming off the earned big W against Michigan at home. Will Rogers only 12 touchdowns, 1 interception. I didn't know that. 1,625 yards and passing, and John Coleman has 5 TDs. Iowa's Caleb Johnson, though, 771 yards, 10 touchdowns. But Iowa's D got lit up by Ohio. They got lit up, and then they let their quarterback go 21 for 25. So, yikes. I do think Iowa does struggle again against Washington. Washington's looking great, especially with quarterback Will Rogers. Caleb Johnson can't carry them all the way. I do think Caleb Johnson gets his 1,000 yards, not this week, but next week. I think it's next week. So, and the last pick is Penn State -3.5 versus USC. The Trojans got embarrassed by Minnesota while leading. They were leading in the 4th quarter, and they still lost. Trojan defense struggles against offensive lines and Big Ten rushing games, hence Penn State. And Nick Singleton looks to return too, also for Penn State, after he was a last-minute scratch for UCLA. Without him, Penn State do struggle. They didn't record 100 rushing yards last week without him. So my picks, if he comes back, which he should, he's favored to come back. They're saying he's coming back. I think Nick Singleton runs all over them, and then Penn State just dominates the clock like they usually do, and then just beat them. It's not going to be a blowout game, but I do think they cover -3.5. I say the score's going to be 28 to 10 or something like that. It's not going to be an interesting game, but the big game is Oregon versus Ohio State. Also, you have the Red River Showdown and much others, but Oregon versus Ohio State is must-watch TV. So, with that being said, guys, make sure y'all like, subscribe. Are y'all going to be fading me, fading ChatGPT, riding with any of us, or y'all just not even going to ride either one of us? Also, check out my NFL video of this. Also, check out my TikTok, which is also Sports Casuals. Instagram, I don't really do this much anymore, which I should get back onto, and whatnot. Hopefully, we'll have a big sale of soccer, because I do sell a lot of soccer stuff before Christmas, so y'all can have those in your little collection. And yeah, we'll be opening up Merlin Soccer, speaking of that, pretty soon, I think next week. And yeah, catch y'all later.